Okay guys, today's concept is federalism as part of the Constitution. This is a really important concept to get because it's very different than separation of powers, but kids do mix up the two. Totally makes sense. Hopefully I can help out. So first off, federalism, hopefully we're focusing on our root words, our ELA foundation. Federal means central, means national. We've talked about that. So you know when you see this term, okay, we're dealing with our national government. At the bare minimum, you got that. Okay, what is federalism? We're going to divide the power, the responsibilities. I'll even write the power, the responsibilities, the tasks of government. We're going to divide it into 3 levels. And that is federal, state, and local. So 3 levels. We're focusing on federal and state. I'm going to have you do some stuff with local, but for our class, state standards purposes, we're going to do much more with federal and state, okay, and really how it affects the federal. So we're looking at how we're going to take the tasks that governments have and divide them up differently than how we did under the Articles of Confederation. So speaking of the Articles of Confederation, under the Articles, the states had all the power. So the states had the power because we were fearful. We wanted a national government that was weaker because we were fearful it would go back to monarchy. So one end, it goes to the other end with the states having the power and having a weak central government. We realized that doesn't work either. So when we create the Constitution, we make it a stronger central government by doing things like our compromises, our great compromise, where we add the executive and judicial branches to make a stronger national government. Executive with authority like the president to organize the country. A judicial branch with a court system that can solve a dispute between North Carolina and Virginia or Maine and Massachusetts. We need that kind of stuff. What we also need is to have our Congress, our C equals S over H, work better than under the Articles. So we have bicameral, our Senate, which takes care of the needs of the state. Our House, which takes care of the needs of the citizens. So when we're making a law that brings in revenue or provides a military to protect us, all these weaknesses of the Articles, okay? That now we have a function that hopefully this law has been made and it's benefiting both the states and the people. It's not always going to work that way, but that's the intention behind it. Now, one of the biggest things we covered was dividing up the power. So we're going to look at delegated, concurrent, and, if it comes up, reserved powers. So I'm going to shift this just a little bit to what we did in class today. So we talked about the Articles of Confederation. It being a weaker national government because we didn't want it to be a king. So we had some, and I'll repeat it again, you may not have been in class. Every single one of these little flag magnets is a responsibility, a task of government. So, picking up the trash, protecting citizens, making roads, bridges, education, whatever. Every kind of job that there is for the government to do, that's what each of these are. Well, under the Articles, it was pretty much with the states. So with the king, it would have been all of this up here. Well, we shifted it the other way. This didn't work. So I'm going to use the vocabulary terms. The states delegated or gave up much of their power to the national government. That's our delegated powers. They reserved, like a reservation for a table at a restaurant, they kept some of their powers because they didn't want to give up everything. So they reserved some. The local keep theirs. But there are some responsibilities, powers, such as defending people or taxing that everybody needs. And those are our concurrent powers. So they are things that we share throughout all of them. So we've made a major shift where it's not like with a monarch where all of these would have been with the monarch. Or it's not like with the Articles where most of it was with the states. We've got a lot of it up here. We've still got some with the states, some with the local, so it's a better balance of responsibilities and powers. Now, concurrent is what always gets people in class. I gave the example. I'm going to see if this works. I know it's kind of weird. I came over here to the holiday lights, okay? And the holiday lights, when they're plugged in, look cool, maybe, I don't know. If I unplug it, now these lights look horrible. They're just random vines on a wall, not doing much. The outlet itself has no purpose. Both federal and state aren't doing their jobs. They're not being able to be as successful as they could. So when we plug it back in and we use a current, electrical current, we share that power. Now the lights, whether you like holiday lights or not, are at least maximizing themselves. They're bright, they're pretty, they're drawing attention. The light socket is doing its job, and now we have shared the responsibilities so everybody can be effective. Okay, let me see if I can get this back up here the right way. Okay, that should work. Now, the biggest thing was, okay, now we shifted, what are these powers? So I'm not going to go through this whole thing because you don't need it all. But the federal government we're going to see when we cover the separation of powers. And it's going to be the big things that the states or local municipalities can't do. We see a diagram like this. Our reserved powers stayed with the states, establish, maintain schools, create the local governments, make marriage laws, etc. Gave or delegated to the national government, declare war. You can't have Ohio declare war on China. You can't have Grafton declare war on California. You're not going to have a structure of a government. It's just going to be insanity. Admitting new states, that needs to be national. Post office, you got to have that standard weights and measures. An inch in Ohio cannot be 3 inches in California or Wisconsin or wherever. So we need that consistency. The shared are our concurrent. Make taxes, borrow money, maintain law and order, whether it's local police, whether it's states troopers on the highway, or the military with the Army, Navy, National Guard, Marines, whatever. Every level needs to be able to do that. So we kind of divide it up, but then we do share some with the concurrent. Everything else you would be able to look at in the slideshow. But it kind of goes through and it shows a lot of the specifics with the state governments, a lot of the state responsibilities, and then it went into local. Now, we are not going to spend a lot of time on local. That's 11th grade. But I still want you to be able to see it because, man, local has a big impact on our life. Okay, bigger than we think. Okay, and there's a bunch of examples on how we break down local governments. Like in Ohio, we have counties, we have cities, we have like a village like Grafton, we got townships. But then there's a whole bunch of people involved, and there's a whole bunch of responsibilities. Now I know the purple is not the easiest to see, sorry about that. Oops, my bad. But a lot of these examples, and it even goes through, gives you a case study, city of San Francisco, a lot of things that they have to put money into or they don't have those. Case study of Grafton, an example of what Grafton has to do. And then at the end of this, I even talked about education, how education has federal, state, and local expectations. And the sort that we did in class, here is the answer key. So it's the same stuff that's in all those slides, but it's really, guys, the whole big thing. And I'll just grab this to finish this up. If you realize that, hey, we can't have all the power with the federal. That didn't work with the king. We can't have all the power with the states. So when we come over here, we're going to give most of it to the federal government, have still a bunch with the states. Local does their thing, no big deal there, but we're going to share some along the way. It has to be a system where everybody knows their role. And if they know their role, we can be more effective in what we're doing. So that was federalism. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. And we'll see you for the next one.